Hi friends, so I am excited. This is my second video for 2021, and as you guys know from my first video, I don't know if you heard that, but Maybelline just made a big old pouty huff. My first video for 2021 was actually a point of, it was like 20 questions for 2020. And I think it helped to focus and digest and break down in a sort of simple but more grounded reflection point on what 2020 sort of was, which was obviously a lot. And if you haven't seen that, check that out. I would love to see how many people are maybe answering those questions themselves in the comments, or whether you find that their 2020 should have had some other simple questions for the whole grounding aspect of reflecting on it. But as I mentioned in that one, this video is going to be geared towards talking about what my goals are for 2021, and I'm going to use the word goals a little bit loosely here, because I think back to, this quest of mine from earlier in 2020 where I took 60 days and I addressed goals in more of a systems-based approach, where I was more focused on changing a couple of structural things in my day-to-day functionality for productivity, for personal growth, for mental health, for confidence, which was a weird byproduct that I got from that I didn't anticipate going into it. But one of those two things was learning how and knowing when to give myself rest, identifying when I actually need rest and not feeling like I need to deserve it, or it's coming at the wrong time, or I don't have time for it. Because I ended up breaking down and exhausting myself, or I'm functioning in high moments of stress that creates a lot of extended periods of downtime, of unfunctionality. I'll have to look that up later. But the other thing was, what was the other aspect of systems? Was creating micro systems and being organized and structured all the time. And I was able to help balance, when you live in a two-person, multi-person family and household, there are different approaches to things, and to identify and communicate where one leaves off and the other one picks up, and vice versa. Those things are important, and when one person is depending on organization and cleanliness and structure in a certain way, it does affect both of us. And that was something that I was able to get out of a systems-based approach of knowing where my personal boundaries for what I needed to be done, and how to properly execute and express that without feeling like I didn't deserve it, or that it wasn't important, or that it wasn't worth anything, because they obviously are. And I had felt a lot better once I was able to sort of stand up and identify that for myself, and making us a little bit more, takes the stress and exhaustion out of my life, and it also takes off a little bit of the worry from Caleb in our relationship, if that makes any sense. And so it creates more of a healthy thing, creating and focusing on the systems rather than these little bitty goals that you may or may not make, right? So if you're making systematic approaches, there's like this refinement moment, whereas goals are defined more as, did you accomplish it or did you not? And I know that there's nuances between these two things, and that might not seem like they're that far apart, but the way I'm digesting it and the way I took it, it has worked for me. And so I'm approaching 2021 as more of a theme. And how I'm going to approach my theme for 2021 is a little bit of a cop-out, and it's very broad, and I can identify that right off the bat. But my 2021 theme is plant-based, which is a 2-word hyphenate, which is also not one word, not that it had to be one word, but it could be many words. But the point is that I'm going to be focusing on what I am growing in the environment and sharing for the little systems around me, right? So I work with bees, and bees are important to nature, and I make mead, and that is important for me and my hobby and my mental health to have hobbies, but also working with plant-based alternative therapies. And I have a couple of things that I did not do a great job at documenting the planning phase in 2020 to where I'm going to be in the near future with some of these things. But I'm going to be sharing those. So there's going to be sort of 3 focus areas that I'm going to be exploring my theme of plant-based in 2021, of both continuously growing for personal growth and mental health topics. And I'm also going to be sharing family, because obviously how I intersect with family based on where I am, based on what alternative therapies that I'm exploring while I'm trying to get past certain things. So sharing a little bit more about those systems around the self, which is like family. So one of the things that I've identified in one of my past videos is talking about the surprise that I've had by showing up for my in-laws in the past year, where in years prior I've been a little bit absent and aloof because of just fears and insecurities and lack of worthiness, self-worthiness that I put on myself, and ways that I don't show up for them that I was able to change in this last year. And I have felt really, well, there came a little bit of a better reward knowing that those relationships can be stronger and they can continue to grow, and that is something that is important to me. So I don't know how much of that in particular I'll be sharing, but I will be talking about that in general. And then the third area is more about like the community. And so obviously I'm going to be continuously sharing, and I think how the year is going to go is also going to be broken down into like 3 different categories, or at least a progression of things, where I think through like January and February you see a lot more think tanking, planning, background, structural buildup of things, whereas the execution and rollout is not going to come until spring and summer. And then I have 2 really big things that I'm excited about for autumn of 2021, and I know I keep alluding to it, and it sounds like they're little teasers, and I don't mean them to. I just want to make sure things are synced up in a way that I can proudly and confidently identify that these things are not only going to happen, but show you how they are going to happen. And so with that aspect of community and sharing in this realm of social media, there's also going to be a little bit more of opening the door to more person-to-person type of communication and relationship building, and dealing firsthand with the community in a larger sense. So in 2020, I've opened myself up more in the social media realm in relationships, and I think for 2021, I'm going to be exploring the discomfort of opening that up in the person-to-person aspect of things, and which is mildly uncomfortable, but it's also really exciting. And I do have, so I talked about themes and systems and how those work better for me. I do have one little but big goal for 2021, in that in the realm of community and in my garden space of being plant-based, I literally am my goal is to grow a literal ton of produce to give back to my local food banks. It's something that I'm going to be working towards, which is obviously going to be a slow progression from literal seeds to fruit to harvest, and I look forward to sharing that. And then not plant-based, but more just a goal is that I plan on being more consistent in 2021. And it's not gonna roll out. I need to get a little bit more in a groove, in sync with my own schedule with this. But my plan is to every Tuesday and Thursday and the occasional Saturday, but most likely it will be Sunday once the weather and the ground thaws out and I can return back to Plant Something Sunday series where I plant and talk about plants specific to Sunday. My schedule, I want to get my schedule to be more consistent for you. So I want to, now that I've opened the door to exploring the discomfort of being on camera and opening myself to a world of strangers that I haven't met yet as friends, I do want to start showing up more consistent for you in a predictable way. And a lot of that has to do with how I program and plan, and as you can sort of see, I've been planning out certain projects and talking points and videos that I want to focus on, and how, just in general, how I'm going to get to some of the big things that I want to share later in the year. So I have a lot of really exciting things for both me and for family and for community in the upcoming year, and I look forward to sharing it all with you. So that felt like a lot, and I felt super fast-paced in how I was talking, but I genuinely feel really excited about what is coming up, and I also wanted to create this as sort of like a photo document to reflect on in December of where did that excitement get dissipated and get pumped into, and do I still feel as excited? But yeah, so I think that's it. And I'm going to just wrap this with, remember to keep growing from where you are, and I will share more with you soon. Tschüss.